Hello, this is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Welcome to my podcast. So I have a confession to make. If you've been following me for a while, you probably know that I'm all about health, nutrition, and wellness. It's my passion, my work, my obsession. And yes, I genuinely do try to walk the talk. I eat well, I move my body, I prioritize sleep, I even meditate. But there's one piece of the wellness puzzle I thought I had a handle on, and it turns out that I really don't. And that's stress management. I mean, I thought I was doing fine. I wasn't screaming into pillows or rage cleaning the kitchen. I kept things organized. I handled deadlines. I even penciled in downtime like a responsible adult. But then something happened recently that gently and not so gently reminded me I was not okay in the way I thought I was. My husband is from the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. Sunny, beautiful, slow-paced Cyprus. If you've ever been, you know it's the kind of place where people savor their coffee for hours, where meals are events, where hurry is not part of the cultural vocabulary. Most of his family still lives there, and we were invited to a wedding, and he suggested that we make it a 2-week vacation. 2 whole weeks. My initial reaction was a hard no. 2 weeks away from work, from clients, projects, emails, routines. I literally said that's impossible, like I was being asked to live on Mars for a month. But I sat with it for a while. I talked to my boss and I rearranged some things at work, and eventually I said yes. And let me tell you, wow, I had no idea how stressed I actually was until I wasn't. Until I was lying on a beach with zero agenda. Until I had conversations that weren't about work or productivity or deadlines. Until I stopped checking the time every 5 minutes. That trip cracked something open in me. For the first time in a very long time, I felt peacefully unproductive. I didn't feel guilty for resting. I didn't feel anxious about the next thing. I just existed. And here's part 2 of the confession. I realized I'm a workaholic. Yep, a workaholic. I love what I do, but somewhere along the line, I stopped giving myself permission to unplug. It's like I internalized this belief that my worth is tied to how much I hustle. Even in the wellness space, especially in the wellness space, there's this undercurrent of constant doing. Content creation, coaching, research, planning, posting. But I came home from Cyprus different. I've decided that weekends are mine again, that holidays aren't for catching up on tasks, that I don't need to earn rest, it's a birthright. And it got me thinking, why is it so hard to do what we know is best for us? Why do we say yes to stress and no to joy? Why do we know the apple is better than the cake, but we eat the cake anyways? Now, I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. Awareness is the beginning of change. In this confession, it's my first step. Now, can you relate? Do you have your own wellness contradiction you're wrestling with? I'd love to hear your story. And so here's what really got under my skin after I got back from Cyprus, and that it's I know better. I know what constant stress does to the body. Hello, cortisol overload. And I know sleep-deprived brains don't make the best decisions. I know the science behind burnout, blood sugar spikes, chronic inflammation, and the downstream effects of being on all the time. So why don't I always act on what I know? And I'm guessing I'm not alone in this. Raise your hand if you've ever said, I really should go for a walk right now, and then proceeded to scroll on your phone for 45 minutes instead. Or thought, I need to wind down and meditate tonight, and then found yourself elbows deep in social media until midnight. Yeah, same here. But there's a huge gap between information and integration. It's not that we're lazy. It's not that we're weak. It's that our lives are full of micro decisions made on autopilot. And most of the time, those autopilot responses are not wired for long-term wellness. They're wired for survival, efficiency, and short-term reward. Our brains are like, meditate or caffeine and adrenaline and inbox zero dopamine. Easy choice. Thanks. So when we say we should be doing something healthy but we're not, it's often because our default systems aren't set up to make it easy or natural. We know the apple is the better option than the cake, but that cake is easy, it's familiar, it's rewarding. The apple takes preparation or forethought, or choosing something that doesn't come with a side of creamy icing and nostalgia. And if you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, guess which part of your brain takes the wheel? It's definitely not the rational one. But here's the hope. That gap between knowing and doing isn't fixed. It's flexible. It can be closed, and it starts with awareness. So when I caught myself in Cyprus, finally relaxing, actually breathing, feeling for the first time in months, maybe years, I realized just how wide my gap had gotten. I had normalized the grind so much that even rest felt like a rebellion. That's what this episode is really about, bridging the gap between what we intellectually know and how we actually live, and doing it with compassion, not with shame, not with another checklist, but with curiosity. So why do I default to overwork? What story am I telling myself about rest? And where did I learn that productivity equals worth? These are the questions I'm personally dealing with, and you're invited to sit with them too. So what now? Well, I came home from Cyprus with this deep knowing in my bones. I can't go back to business as usual. Not if I want to feel the way I did on that island, rested, present, and human. So I made a little pact with myself. Nothing crazy, no 30-day detox or waking up at 4 a.m. to journal by candlelight. Just real, doable changes to the way I live and work. And here's what that looks like. Number 1, I said no more weekend work. Unless there's something truly urgent, and I mean life or death urgent, my weekends are sacred now. If I'm not resting, connecting with people, or doing something that fills me up, then what's the point of working so hard the other 5 days? Number 2, holidays are off limits. I used to view holidays as catch-up days, but not anymore. They're now joy days. Long walks, good food, unplugged time with my people, or just me and a book with zero expectation to be productive. Number 3, rest is scheduled, not optional. I block time into my calendar now that literally says, do nothing, like nothing. And if that time turns into a nap, a slow stretch on the floor, or just staring at the clouds, well, that's a win for me. It's about giving my nervous system a chance to downshift. Number 4, boundaries. I'm getting better at saying no without guilt. No, I can't take another project right now. No, I don't have capacity this week. Each no opens space for a bigger, more powerful yes. And I apologize in advance if you're a friend of mine and I turn down an invitation, but I'm going to try really hard to keep these boundaries. Number 5, relearning joy. Here's something I didn't expect. After years of grinding, I kind of forgot what lights me up outside of work. So now part of my recovery is asking myself what I actually enjoy. I mean, if you've followed my other podcast episodes, you know I do like to dance, but now I'm going to try and do a little bit more of that. Relearning what really makes me happy. So I'm letting myself find out again what that truly means. And just to be clear, I'm not perfect. I'll probably still sneak in an email now and then when I shouldn't. Old habits die hard, but the difference now is awareness. I've tasted what it feels like to truly rest, and I'm not willing to let that go again. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I should probably do some of that too, consider this your permission slip. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. Just start with one small decision that protects your peace. Now here's the science behind all of this. Let's be real. Most of us aren't lacking information. We're drowning in it. We know what's good for us. We follow the experts. We bookmark the workouts, save the recipes, download the apps. So why does it still feel like we're fighting our own brains when it comes to change? Well, here's the thing. You are. Our brains were not designed for optimized wellness and perfect habits. They were designed for survival, simplicity, efficiency, and comfort. So let me introduce you to the villain or misunderstood hero of the story. Your default mode network. Basically the part of your brain that kicks in when you're not focused on something specific. It's the home of self-talk, ruminating, planning, and replaying familiar habits, even unhelpful ones. Now enter dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. It's not about happiness, it's about motivation. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you get a reward, but when you anticipate a reward. And guess which activities give faster, more predictable rewards than meditation, deep sleep, or scheduling rest? Yep, you guessed it. It's snacking, scrolling, checking your email, or pushing through another work sprint. And then there's decision fatigue, which is a real phenomenon. Studies show we make up to 35,000 decisions a day. Your brain starts taking shortcuts as it gets tired. This is why your 10 p.m. self is suddenly convinced that reorganizing your entire pantry or binging 7 episodes of a show is a good idea. Add to that the sneaky power of habit loops. Cue, routine, reward. And suddenly you're repeating the same, I'll relax after just one more task cycle forever. But here's the empowering part. None of this means you're broken. It means you're human. Behavioral change starts with recognizing that your brain is just trying to help you survive in the way it knows how. You've got to gently train it to operate with a new definition of safe and rewarding. Want to make rest sustainable? Well, pair it with small hits of dopamine. Think cozy tea, your favorite playlist, the softest bathrobe you own. Want to change a habit loop? Well, don't just cut the routine, replace the reward with something equally satisfying. And the big one, make your environment do the heavy lifting. We underestimate how much our surroundings shape our behaviors. If your phone's on your nightstand, you'll scroll. If your calendar is a solid wall of back-to-back tasks, rest won't magically appear. But if rest is scheduled, visualized, and socially reinforced, your brain starts to believe it belongs there. You don't change your life by pushing harder. You change it by working the way your brain already functions. So how do you build a life that supports you back? Well, if there's one thing I took away from my trip and from unlearning some deeply ingrained habits, is this. Wellness isn't just something you do. It's something you build around yourself. It's not about chasing some perfect routine. It's about designing your day-to-day life so that the healthy choice becomes the easy one, or at least the obvious one. So here's how I'm starting to do that. Number 1, making rest visible. So instead of fitting in downtime, I schedule it like I would a meeting. It gets a name, maybe even a color on my calendar. It has a start and an end time. And most importantly, it gets honored. Because invisible rest is the first thing to disappear when life gets busy. Number 2, creating friction for habits that I want to break. So, want to stop checking emails late at night? I log out of my inbox. Want to stop scrolling? Well, I keep my charger in a different room and let my phone battery decide for me. Adding friction makes the path of least resistance actually work in my favor. So number 3, designing micro habits that add up. So I used to think that if I didn't have a full hour to work out, it wasn't worth it. But now 10 minutes are okay. 5 deep breaths between calls. Wellness isn't an all or nothing. It's cumulative. We tend to underestimate what tiny habits do over time. Number 4, I'm personalizing motivation. So some people thrive on checklists. I thrive on Post-its with encouraging sarcasm like, go touch grass. Maybe for you it's a vision board, and I do have one of those as well. A playlist, a friend who gently drags you on walks. Whatever makes you feel like the main character of your own comeback, lean into that. And number 5, aligning your environment with your values. So look around your space. Does it reflect who you are and how you want to feel? Now, my kitchen counter used to be full of clutter, but now it holds herbal tea and fresh lemons because hydration and gut health are goals. And little cues matter. When I see that tea or those lemons, it kind of is my signal to go grab a nice cup of hot tea. So make your environment whisper your intentions back to you. Designing a life that supports wellness isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about nudging your future self with little signals that say, hey, you matter. Let's do this differently today. So now it's your turn. I've shared my confession. Now I want to hear yours. What's one thing you know is good for you, but you just haven't been able to follow through on it yet? Or maybe something you used to do really well, but life got messy and it fell by the wayside. Could be something as simple as skipping lunch breaks, avoiding movement because you're too busy, or saying yes to things you're secretly resentful about. We all have something, and honestly, saying it out loud is the first tiny act of rebellion against burnout culture. So here's what I'd love. Shoot me a DM, drop a voice note, share your story, big or small. If you're comfortable, let me share it anonymously in a future episode, because this is how we unlearn hustle culture together. Let's make this a space where confession leads to compassion, not shame. A space where self-awareness becomes collective momentum. And a space where you're reminded that you're not alone, ever. So what's your confession? I'm listening. Thanks for listening. This is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Until next time, be well, friends. This podcast is presented solely for informational and educational purposes only. Use of information from this podcast is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician or other qualified professional. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from use of this podcast.